I don't think we need to leave the planet to go to Mars to find the undiscovered country. I believe there are lifetimes of emotional caverns and layers we can continue to discover in our own energetic field and our own bodies to enrich the quality of our lives. Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we explore the survivor's journey, practitioners making a difference, and the therapeutic treatments and transformational technology that allow the body to heal itself. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel. Now, it's early in the morning and I'm wandering around my apartment with a mobile microphone, which is, I gotta be honest, when I do a test run on a podcast or a solo episode, solo-sode, which I've coined, I like to kind of wander around the apartment with my little mobile recorder, and then I kind of do it for real. I'll set up the lights and the camera and the good recording equipment. And Today, I'm going to go rogue because here we are at episode 110. Sadly for us both, we are at the end of season 3 whole seasons. So we're up to episode. This will be 110. And I have so much to say because I think all too often in today's world, we are pushed to create content. Week after week, episode after episode, new guest after new guest, new technology and supplementation and procedure that can upgrade our biology through technology. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I almost think I have this innate feeling in my heart. Sometimes it's just too quick. Sometimes we move through in the effort to produce content that I don't feel personally I get to digest what I've learned. Part of the magic of doing a podcast is being able to assimilate and take on everything that a guest has offered me in that 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So I will actually go back. I'll listen a few times. So I thought what might be a fun experiment as I grab my coffee here, clink, clink. I'm going to try to keep the background noises to a minimum. But if I couldn't just walk through some of the most incredible takeaways from season 3 that have changed my life, because let me lay out for you in my N=1 experiment some of the benefits that have changed. In this 20 short episodes, I've picked up my life from New York City. I've moved to Austin, Texas. I've found a home. I've furnished it with all my favorite longevity and biohacking and human optimization technologies, techniques, and supplements. And I've built a community. I have more mobility. I have more muscle mass and less white visceral fat around my organs. I've increased my energy. My deep sleep is improved. And a lot of those improvements that I just mentioned, and I've got more. My finances are different. My finances actually they improved, even though I spent a lot more money and invested a lot more into my business, into the process of building this platform where I can talk about health and wellness, traveling all over the country. Even with all those things have gone up, and we want to call that the energetic bucket of money, which is just an exchange between people that we agree upon something has value so I can experience more things on the planet. Great. That's gone up too. The number of people that listen to the podcast and listen on social media, especially Instagram and Facebook, have gone way up. More people to talk to and engage with and listen with. The company that I work for, AquaCure, has gone through a phase of abundance. We've helped more people and brought more people into this community and opened the door to new ways to look at the energetic body and magnetic fields. A lot of abundance has happened in 20 episodes, so I gotta talk about it. I gotta share. It feels selfish for me not to offer this to everybody that happens to listen to this podcast. And first and foremost, with all this extra energy, what I really feel, I actually feel a lot of love flowing through my body. That's my big one. I'm going to make point number 1, and we'll recap because I love to recap. We're going to do this on a whiteboard. And number 1, I just feel a lot of love flowing through my body. I think it's not always easy to feel love. What's love feel like? Well, empathy, understanding, humility, gratitude, all those things swirl around my heart. And it feels like when I wake up, I kind of wake up singing with a little bit of joy. I've often said this in the past that I'm programmed for joy. And because so many transitions have happened in my life, I find myself here in this new home and this new community, and it's just palpable. It makes me want to sing in the morning. So number one, this season has opened the door to me really exploring and feeling what love is. And I have incredible new friends that I've made in the last 20 episodes. We started in, I think it was around March. I've got to go look at the computer, but when do we start this endeavor for this season number 3? So let's walk through some of the biggest and most profound insights I gained from this season. And I'm going to really speak the names. So let's talk about one of my favorite guests was Matt Odie. Now, Matt, like myself, went through testicular cancer. And he has one of the most incredible survivor stories that I've heard in my time on planet Earth. I remember sitting down and listening for the interview, and I thought to myself, this is a walking miracle. This is somebody who had an angel on their shoulder. And there were multiple times when they told Matt's family to prepare for him to die. And there were times even within his most dark moments and most profound surgeries in which he did die. But he sat across from me on a computer and we had a conversation. And not only is he well, did he beat cancer, but he's thriving and he's inspiring thousands of people on his incredible interactive group on Facebook, social media. So that's episode 91. So you got to go listen to Matt Odie. You know, another thing that where the rubber meets the road is longevity and health. And I always think about our skeletal system is the framework which allows us to move through planet Earth. You know, healthy bones, I don't care about healthy bones. I don't want them to break. I want them to support the structural nature of my body. And so in episode 92, we had Sarah Glick guest on the show, and she talked about her platform, OsteoStrong, that she has in LA, which is a clinic that holds one of the only technologies in the world proven to increase bone density for all ages, no matter how strong you are. So I think that's another one that I would definitely go listen to, episode 92. Of course, we get into one of my favorite human beings on the planet. We had Glen Wilhelm on from AMD, A Major Difference Ionic Foot Bath, which is one of my favorite ways to help detox the body. And I can't pass over this because although we talked about technology and the ability to put positive and negative ions, which flip polarities into the bottom of the feet to help bind with toxins, we also talked about Glen's daughter and how she had recently, over the last year, lost her battle with cancer. And even in that space, Glen walked us through his ongoing relationship that he has with his child. And again, I've got to have you go back to episode 93 and just give Glen an hour, because that is going to change your life. In this season, we also talked about breathwork and deliberate cold exposure. Now, we had 3 of the best in the industry. Again, this list of guests was just downloaded for me. I have people reach out all the time and ask to book on the podcast, PR agents. We have firms in this industry that will try to book guests on your podcast, especially as you get more notoriety. Everybody on this list are just people that I found on social media, and I called them and they said, yeah, let's do it. But I had some of the best in the industry. Hi, friends. I hope you're loving this show. Let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors. One of the consistent biohacks in my home is red light therapy, or photobiomodulation, if you want to sound fancy at a dinner party. Now, red lights have been clinically shown to help with a plethora of health benefits, including increased energy, better circulation, increased testosterone production, workout recovery, hair growth, and even help with fine lines and wrinkles on your skin. There are even multiple studies showing benefits with Alzheimer's patients. Personally, this is something I recommend for most of my clients to have in their home for its incredible benefits and relatively low cost. Now, from my research, LightPath LED continues to innovate their designs, and they include multiple wave panels and pulsing. with this initial research showing a greater depth of penetration and benefit to mitochondrial health, which, if you're a fan of the podcast, you know this is the moving target when it comes to wellness. Mind the mitochondria. So check out lightpathled.com and use code BEAUTIFULLYBROKEN, all lowercase, for a 10% discount in the checkout. The inventor and founder, Scott Kennedy, is a true gem of a human being and stands behind every light that he sells. This is a Beautifully Broken podcast. Stamp of approval, 5 stars. Now let's get back to the show. So let's just talk about breath and deliberate cold exposure. Casper Vandermeulen, Kristen Weitzel, and then, of course, we had the team from Morosco Forge. So in this makeup, we have some of the best breathwork coaches. And then I also have to include Robbie Bent. Basically, Robbie's up in the North Country. He's up around Toronto. And he is, again, creating experiences with breathwork, deliberate cold exposure, and breath. So we've got Robbie Bent. We've got Adrian and Jason from the Morosco Forge team. We've got Kristen and we've got Casper. And what these leaders and innovators and pioneers in the space of deliberate cold exposure and breath both reminded us again and again and again, each in individual ways, how powerful the body is and its ability to heal when it has the right signaling and cues. So let's talk about that mechanism for a second. The body's vascular system, our lungs, they almost need to have a permission slip from the nervous system to be in a state of parasympathetic or rest and digest balance. Breathwork and breathwork patterns can greatly assist this work in the nervous system. So one of the things I picked up from Casper has been mouth taping at night. I've been putting a small piece of tape over my mouth and then some type of a nasal expander to open my passageways. And what that practice has done for me is increase my heart rate variability, or the time between successive heartbeats. So my nervous system is ready to adapt to hormetic stressors in the environment. As a result, my recovery scores go up. As a result, my brain works better. This is just a conversation. So what I would like you to do is go ahead and, again, dive into these last 20 episodes. Because I think the theme here is everything old is new again. If you've ever heard that song from, I believe it's in the Fosse movie. My Broadway card might be taken away from me for forgetting that. And it's been a profound lesson. The other thing I picked up from Kristen has been this new breathwork pattern to downregulate my breath from Adrian and Jason at Morosco Forge, the Cadillac of all ice baths. How do I downregulate the breath? I had always watched Wim Hof and thought, this hyperventilating type breath work before you would get into ice. Well, for somebody who's been through biotoxin illness and chronic Lyme, that might not be the best thing for my nervous system. And so using a breath work pattern of 3, I think it is, I've been doing 3, 7, 8. In for 3, hold for 7, out for 8. In for 3, hold for 7, out for 8. Now this takes me into, it feels like I took a tranquilizer. That's what it feels like. It feels like I have eaten a tranquilizer. And I'll do this 15 minutes before bed, and it really it's calming. It takes me down into the delta waves that should be predominant around sleep. And it's improved recovery in a profound way. Another thing that I want to mention is, because I just said Robbie Bent and Kristen and the Morosco Forge team, is coupling the breath with the deliberate cold exposure. So that's one thing that's been new for me in this season of the podcast, this season of my life. I have invested, embarrassingly so, and there will be an episode on this, extra money to develop a cold plunge that will circulate cold water in my little backyard in my apartment complex in Austin, Texas. I have a rain barrel, essentially, from the company Ice Barrel, and a cold circulation unit, much like an air conditioner window unit, with a jacuzzi pump and a filter that keeps that water about 44 degrees. And I'll spend 3 to 5 minutes in that cold water. On the other side, I get a parasympathetic rebound, so that my body moves into this rest and digest phase, recovery mode. I unburden my cup of stress. It's like I pour it out all over the ground and it's gone. Not to mention that another benefit from deliberate cold exposure, which we talk about in all those episodes, is my body tissue has changed. I think I mentioned this. And listen, I'm the first guy to be like, oh my goodness, another gym selfie. Well, I'm proud of losing my pandemic weight. I have a picture somewhere where I just have like straight up love handles. I was eating like chocolate bars 2 times a day to cope with the stress of the pandemic and all the things that were going on in the world and my personal stress. And that's really gone. For a greater degree, I can tell you ice has had a profound impact in my wellness. And I just go jump in once or twice a day. Now, it's funny to me the resistance people have around this therapy. The resistance people have around ice and how painful it is and how bad it is. And it's kind of like, if you've ever heard Jocko Willing, he has a wonderful podcast. Look him up. He's been on Joe Rogan a bunch of times. People will go to him and they'll be like, oh, I had this horrible experience and I was in a car accident and I broke my leg. And Jocko's like, good. I had this horrible experience one time and I lost my job and my wife left me. Jocko's like, good. And now it seems like a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. It's him. It's in his own words, in his way, saying, good, life's coming at you. Let's use this. Let's use this for growth. How are you going to pivot? How are you going to pull from your bag of tricks, your skill set, to maneuver what life has offered you for growth? Because that's what happens, growth. So when something bad happens, I think all too often in this nature, this setting of, especially the United States, we want everything to be comfortable and plush and feel comfortable and be warm and be 72 degrees in a little air-conditioned box. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel tired. We don't want to feel sadness. We're avoiding the harsh nature of life. In some ways, that's great. We're sheltered from the elements at all time, and sometimes that's not great because we don't have that stressor to allow us to grow, much like the stressor of a very heavily weighted barbell will grow the muscles around your legs and will keep you walking upright, grocery shopping, and driving to the store till you're 100. Without that, you're going to be feeble. So when somebody comes to me with my immediate network, oh my God, can you believe this is happening? It's terrible. My inner voice says, good. And that's something that ice has taught me. Being in extreme cold, being extremely uncomfortable. Can you imagine waking up? It's already chilly and cold outside in the fall, and to just jump into 39-degree water? Good. I stand in the face of adversity, and I'm doing that through my actions and my breath and my presence. That practice, that anti-fragility practice, is me saying good. It's me prepping for the phone call, for the shift in employment, for the shift in my day-to-day health, which will fall off one day. It's me saying good. I'm going to practice this deliberate cold exposure and this anti-fragility technique, and I'm going to layer this into my life so I'm more ready for when the bumps in the road come along. And that's been a big advantage to how I manage stress. And I have to tip my hat to Robbie, to Kristen, to Jason, to Adrian, and to Casper for doing such detailed work around breath and deliberate cold exposure and building community. That's another thing that, again, go back and listen to Robbie Bent's episode. And I'm going to get you the number right now when I walk over to the computer next to the coffee. But in this episode, to do cold exposure by yourself with your own breath work, it's not as fun as having an ice partner, right? It's just not as grand. It's not as exciting. There's things that will come up out of breath work and cold exposure and sharing your pain when you have someone there to mirror or reflect back what you're feeling. There's a lot of things come up when you get out of the ice, and I don't think those things stop. I think there's always discovery, right? Again, in this 2021, we're moving into 2022. I don't think we need to leave the planet to go to Mars to find the undiscovered country. I believe there are lifetimes of emotional caverns and layers we can continue to discover in our own energetic field and our own bodies to enrich the quality of our lives. as we unravel and unweave why I'm, frustration. Let's talk about frustration for a second, because in this season, as my energy is built, as my health is improved, as I can better adapt and navigate the world, I can feel this energy building almost like just this Tesla turbine that's filling up this battery, and I want to go so fast. And I get frustrated. I get frustrated at the people around me. I have these conversations and I'm like, I'm ready. I'm going. I understand the path. Where are you? I get frustrated that people aren't doing what I'm doing. Why are we not all starting the day with cold exposure and breath work and red light therapy and a bulletproof coffee and a methylene blue and detoxing the brain from environmental chemicals? Why aren't we all doing this? And so that frustration or that triggering for me is a lesson. It's a layer of the undiscovered country that's coming up and something I can work with. Because I can tell you right now what I just spoke in reality. The word I just spoke was saying, why can't I control the outside world? Why can't I? How annoying that I can't get you to act like I want to act. I can't get you to immediately accept my belief system. How frustrating. Oh, that makes me so angry. Why can't everybody just be like me? Well, that is a boring universe and a boring life. And I'll go back to the idea of controlling outside world. It's total bullshit. It's not going to happen. It'll never happen. You're never going to control another human being. I think the value for me is what I said, back to the frustration and the triggering. What I can do is I can choose something even more bold than wanting to control a person to behave like me. I could choose the path of being a leader. Holy shit. You want to talk about something scary? Be a leader. To do the work, to do all those self-improvement, self-development practices, and to stand as a shining example on what you think life could be. If you could be so bold, if you could be so humble, and lead through your words and lead through your actions. Wow. I get it. I really do. One thing that's amusing to me is I remember I was a history minor. And I was fascinated by history, but I remember reading about it and it always seems so detached. You read about World War I or the Revolutionary War or when the colonies took up arms against England. It just felt like a distant story. But when I feel that now, when I think about leading, when I think about standing up for your rights and your belief systems, I look at that one little story about the colonies taking up arms against the King of England, the largest military power in the world, and saying, no. There will be no taxation without representation. We're not going to do this. We're actually going to take all the tea off your boat and we're going to throw it in the water just because we don't agree. And some of those instances of someone planting their feet in the ground and saying, no, this doesn't feel good to me. I don't share your values. I'm going to lead. I'm going to act and speak and move differently because this is what my soul wants. The end result of that was the country we're standing on right now, which so many people look to as a shining example of hope. The dream of America, the idea of a country with certain inalienable freedoms. It's the dream, right? We all know it's there for some, it's not there for others. It's questionable, it's highly questionable at times. And it's a beautiful dream and an incredible experiment it's lasted a long time, guys. Yeah, hundreds of years. It's lasted a long time. Will it be forever? Probably not. Will it fall down? Probably. Let's just put it on the big timeline. All things fade away. Nothing lasts forever. And I find that so beautiful. We always have the chance to burn it down and build it back up again. Always. That's on a cellular level. That's your body. That is everything. Everything has a chance to move towards entropy and then grow. So that was my talk through. It's been an incredible season. I've learned so much. I'm so thankful to be here. I'm thankful you're still listening. I hope you find value in this podcast. If you do, give it a review, give it a listen, share it with a friend, send it out to your email list. Tell me how I can support you. Tell me how we can collaborate. Being in Austin, a big thing of the reason I'm sticking and I'm putting down some roots here is community. Being able to collaborate. Being able to find a business that I'm very passionate about, like my last episode before this, 109, MSW Lounge. Those guys are creating the ultimate vitamin IV stacks for people, customized off their blood work many times. They're looking to build community because, again, it's a lonely road to travel alone. It's incredible when you can do it with friends and like-minded friends even more so. So I want to build community with you. I love you guys. This has been, I talked for almost 30 minutes. I'm always like, should I do 5? It felt good. Felt good for me. Self-proclaimed great podcast. Team, I love you so much. I'm going to shut it down. Namaste. Does anybody think that these health upgrades sound expensive? They can be an investment. But after truly learning how money works, the inflationary nature of our fiat currency, combined with the fact that big banks charged, are you ready for this? $34 billion to the poorest members of society, I knew I was ready for a shift. In my opinion, money is energy, and I've seen too many scenarios which compromised health is attached to financial distress. The energy is not flowing. And to break that cycle, it's going to take a new level of thinking to come up with a different result. Enter Celsius Network. This is my bank that's not a bank. Celsius is a place to store cryptocurrency safely and get an incredible return on your stored wealth. They share up to 80% of the revenue with the users, not the board of trustees, so you can earn up to 17.78% APY distributed weekly. I'd like to see a bank beat that. So what does that look like? Every Monday, I get a direct deposit of the money I've earned as a reward for joining the community on my beautifully designed app with this high-end customer interface. I've made over $2,600 by joining Celsius in just over 9 months. I've never made that in the history of time through my old, air quote, big bank. So they have 0% in withdrawal fees, over 500,000 users and 10 billion in assets that are insured. And you can also use your crypto or borrow dollars or stable coins with loans starting at just 1%. That's correct. You can borrow from yourself and keep your own money and pay it back over the next 6 months to a year. Say it with me. Financial freedom is back on the market. So check out the link in the show notes to join Celsius. I've got a special offer to earn $30 in stable coins by joining the community. Please don't take this as financial advice, and everything I offer is an opportunity to do your own research and make the best choice for your abundance. Let the green energy flow so you can do more good in the world. My friends, you made it to the end of the podcast, and here we are in season 3. I think our relationship is developing into something really special. So there are 2 ways to support this show. The first is by joining my membership program at buymeacoffee.com/FreddieSetGo. Here you'll get early access to all the podcasts, bonus episodes, video clips, discounted coaching, and free webinars with thought leaders in the wellness and transformational technology industry. It's a chance to take your listening experience and put it into action. The second way is to support the podcast through FreddieSetGo.com and download the Beautifully Broken Buyer's Guide. This is my new ebook, which is a collection of transformational technology